Hello, I'm Dr. Sequita Sweet, Associate Professor of Organizational Leadership. This video focuses on the relationship between concept maps and conceptual frameworks, and why understanding this relationship is essential to producing a coherent, defensible dissertation. Doctoral students often struggle not because they lack effort, capability, or intellect, but because their thinking has not yet been fully externalized or organized. Concept mapping is one of the most powerful tools we have for doing that work. In this presentation, we will walk through a clear roadmap for understanding how concept maps relate to conceptual frameworks in doctoral research. We begin by discussing why conceptual clarity matters so much in the dissertation process. From there, we will define what concept maps and conceptual frameworks are and explore how they are similar. Next, we will examine the key differences between the two, including common misunderstandings that often create challenges for doctoral students. We will then focus on how concept maps evolve into conceptual frameworks and why that evolution is essential for dissertation alignment. We will conclude with key takeaways and a brief reflection to help you connect this material directly to your own doctoral work. One of the most common issues in doctoral work is misalignment. Students may have a strong problem of practice, but a weak framework, or strong literature, but unclear research questions. These are not writing problems, they are conceptual problems. Concept mapping helps you see your thinking before you write, so these issues can be addressed early rather than during proposal defense or committee review. A key idea to hold on to throughout this lecture is this: a conceptual framework is a refined, dissertation-ready version of a concept map. They are not separate or unrelated tools. They exist on the same continuum of scholarly thinking, just at different stages of rigor, precision, and defensibility. A concept map is a visual representation of how you currently understand a topic. It allows you to identify key concepts, explore how they relate to one another, and synthesize what the literature is telling you. At this stage, the goal is exploration. You are making your thinking visible, not perfect. Concept maps are flexible, iterative, and developmental. A conceptual framework, on the other hand, is a formal scholarly artifact. It explains how and why your problem of practice operates using theory and evidence. This is a framework you defend to your committee. It guides your research questions, methodology, and interpretation of findings. Unlike a concept map, it is focused, intentional, and stable. Despite these differences, concept maps and conceptual frameworks share the same DNA. Both identify key constructs, show relationships, rely on theory, and make assumptions explicit. Both exist to bring coherence to your study. If a visual does not show relationships among concepts, it is neither a concept map nor a conceptual framework. It is simply a list. Both tools are designed to explain a problem, not just describe it. They help answer foundational scholarly questions. For example, What is happening? Why is it happening? What influences what? Doctoral work is about explanation, not description. Your concept map is the earliest place where that explanatory thinking should appear. Both concept maps and conceptual frameworks must be grounded in theory. The difference is that concept maps often use theory implicitly or exploratorily, while conceptual frameworks require explicit theoretical justification. At the concept map stage, you are discovering which theories fit. At the framework stage, you are defending why a particular theory or set of theories explains your study best. One of the most important roles of both tools is alignment. When your concept map is strong, alignment across the dissertation becomes visible. The problem, the framework, the research questions, the literature review, and even the methodology are all drawn from the same conceptual logic. When alignment is weak, it usually means the underlying concept map has not been fully developed. Here is where the distinction matters most. Concept maps are flexible and student-facing. They allow room for uncertainty and revision. Conceptual frameworks are committee-facing. They must be focused, stable, and defensible. The mistake many students make is trying to treat an early concept map as if it were already a conceptual framework. This comparison highlights that the difference between the two is not intellectual quality, but scholarly maturity. Concept maps belong earlier in the doctoral journey. Conceptual frameworks emerge later once ideas have been narrowed, justified, and aligned with research design. This slide shows the transformation process. You begin with a broad concept map that includes many plausible concepts and relationships. Then, through reading, feedback, and reflection, you narrow the map. You remove what is peripheral, clarify directionality, and ground each relationship in theory. What remains becomes your conceptual framework. A helpful metaphor is to think of the concept map as an architectural sketch and the conceptual framework as the final blueprint. You cannot build without a sketch, but you cannot defend a sketch as a blueprint. Both are necessary, but at different stages. Here's a simple self-test you should revisit often. Ask yourself whether you could defend every concept and arrow in your visual using peer-reviewed literature. If the answer is no, you are still in the concept map stage, and that is appropriate. If the answer is yes, you are approaching a dissertation-ready conceptual framework. Common mistakes include treating concept maps as brainstorming diagrams, including concepts that never appear in the study, or relying on professional experience without theory. Remember, experience informs your interest, but theory justifies your study. From a dissertation chair and committee perspective, the conceptual framework signals scholarly readiness. It tells faculty whether you understand theory, can explain relationships, and can sustain alignment across chapters. A strong framework reduces revisions, clarifies expectations, and strengthens your defense. The central takeaway from this video is simple but powerful. Concept maps help you think. Conceptual frameworks help you defend. Strong dissertations do not start with writing, they start with conceptual clarity. Here are some useful sources. Happy concept mapping!